Welcome to Session 8 of your In the Life of Joseph Bible Study. Get your copy of the guide using the link in the description. Today, we're in Genesis chapter 40, verses 1 to 4. Let's dive in.
It started with a moment of carelessness. A spilled chalice, a ruined loaf, small mistakes, perhaps, but enough to ignite the fury of the king. Pharaoh was angry. This wasn't just disappointment, it was the aroused anger of a god king. He needed no trial, he needed only an object for his wrath. The chief butler and the chief baker were stripped of their station. Their royal sashes, the jewelry were taken off them. Led away from the presence of the king who did whatever he pleased, they were marched from the house of gold to the house of stone. This was no ordinary dungeon. They were put in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, the very estate where Joseph had once served as master of the house. Potiphar, the captain, watched. Was it regret, or was he simply keeping a close eye on the worker he knew he couldn't truly replace? But they did not find a dungeon of chaos. They found a prison of order, overseen by a man who had already mastered the art of service in the shadows. Joseph saw them, and from the high balcony, Potiphar saw Joseph. The hierarchy of the palace was gone, but the hierarchy of character remained. Potiphar did not leave their care to chance. He descended to the courtyard to give a personal order, placing the king's own officers under the hand of the man he still trusted. This was the official charge. The captain of the guard handed over the responsibility, signaling that in this house of stone, Joseph's word was now law. For the first time since his arrest, Joseph stood face to face with his master. He didn't bow as a broken man, but as a restored leader, ready for a new duty. Joseph led the way. The chief butler and the chief baker followed him into the inner ward, leaving behind the world of the palace for a season of preparation. For the butler and the baker, reality finally set in. From the finest of the palace to the cold, damp limestone of the king's prison. Joseph didn't see disgraced officials, he saw souls needing care. He served them with the same excellence as he did in Potiphar's house. Joseph wasn't just serving the officials, he oversaw the whole prison, managing both the king's officers and the other prisoners alike. As they worked, another test began, waiting. Joseph stood guard, keeping order until God's timing arrived. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. In the king's prison, time wasn't measured by clocks, but by the slow, relentless crawl of the sun across the limestone floor. Joseph kept the officials' environment prosperous. He didn't just manage the prison, he curated it, maintaining order and dignity where there should have been only despair. They talked. Joseph listened to stories of a palace he'd never seen, and a king he'd only heard of. A bond was forming between both prisoners. After quite some time, Joseph's character remained unchanged. His tunic was still white. His spirit was still spotless. He was ready for what was coming next. After quite some time, the atmosphere in the ward shifted. The air grew heavy, as if the very stones were holding their breath for a change that was long overdue. The baker felt the weight of his offense. In the darkness, the silence was louder than the king's anger, echoing the uncertainty of a head that might not remain on its shoulders. But for the butler, the darkness held a different vision. Even in prison, he could still taste the wine of the palace, a memory of favor that refused to die. One night, two dreams, two different fates. The training season was over. Joseph, the interpreter of dreams, starts now.